Greetings everyone, and welcome to How to Make a Comic Book Q&A. Now in this one, I took some of the questions that you guys have given me in my last video asking for topics for how to make a comic book series. Now some of them were actually more verbal, where I can answer them in kind of a just quick explanation rather than a whole video. But some of them were video related to where I could make a whole video out of them. And I've written those down. But I've also written down a lot of the other ones which I feel that I can answer here in kind of a Q&A format. And that way it's not just me commenting back on a video or on the comments, and here I can actually just kind of have a nice little one-on-one where I'm just answering your questions. Which I think I might start doing a little bit more, just kind of a little more entertaining for you guys so you actually have some cool videos. So, what I'm going to do here is I have a list of some of your questions, and I'm just going to like read them off, and I'm going to answer them as best I can. So, let's get started. So the first question I have here is from NerdyWa. So thank you for your question. It's kind of a three-parter here. The three parts are, how do I create my own style of drawing? How do I self-publish a comic? And should I have my comic colored or just, penciled or inked, like The Walking Dead? Okay, each of these questions are easily verbally answered. The first one, how do I create my own style of drawing? With creating a style of art, the thing, it's really up to your personal tastes. It's not really something I can show you in a drawing video. Because what you have to do is you have to look at basically your influences. Who do you like? What artists are you into? And pick a variety of them and pick out the things you like about them. And start using those influences in what you draw. Learn to draw the basics, but as you're learning to draw, start throwing in little things that you like, things that you've seen that you enjoy, things that you would like to implement into your own style, and eventually you'll start coming up with your own ideas of what you would like to put into your style. And it's just a little bit of a trial and error thing that you got to go through on your own to really develop what you would consider your own style. The second part about publishing a comic book, now there's many ways to publish a comic book. You can either have a publisher do it in a sense of you're working for a company, either DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, Image. When you have some of these companies do it, you're usually just giving your final product to them and they publish it themselves. And they usually have on-house publishing or they outsource to other publishers. Now, if you're publishing it by yourself in an indie format, there are many ways you can do it. You can usually go online and find many sources of websites that are basically designed for publishing comics and publishing books. Kablam is actually a website, I'll leave a link in the description, that you can go to, and they actually will publish your book for you in many different formats. So that's just some of the ways you can do it. You can also just print it yourself at your local store that has copying and printing methods. But with online printing now, you're able to get a wider audience because they will usually provide the ability to send those books wherever you want. And some of them, like Kablam, even have parent or sister sites that allow you to sell the book itself. So that's just one way and many ways that you can kind of publish on your own. This last bit about whether you should color or keep it, black and white, that's a whole bunch of just personal preference. Do you like colored pieces or do you like your pieces in black and white? And that is completely up to you. I cannot tell you what you should do there because it all depends on what type of media you want to get out there. If you want it colored, then have it colored. You can find a colorist, Digital Webbing Forum, which I will link below. You can go to there and you can actually find colorists who'd be willing to either find the paid work, where you'll pay them, or you can sometimes find collaborative people who are willing to do it for free. So just browse around there and see if you find people who you'd like to color your work. Now, if you want it just black and white, just do that. It's perfectly fine. There are many books. Japanese manga are in black and white all the time. And even a lot of independent companies who are doing a lot of comic books are doing it in black and white now. So you can kind of get away with it without it being a problem. So just take a gander at some options and see what works best for you. Now that final bit also comes into another question by Smasty, who also asked, how to print a comic book and where to get printed. And it's the same thing. Go over to websites like Kablam and check them out, and I highly recommend them. They're awesome, they work really well, and they're the ones who I plan on using on my own one day. Dragon Rider SCS1 asked how to make a comic strip. Now making a comic strip would normally cost a whole video. but I already did that. So I will leave a link, either an annotation right here on my face, you know, that way it's like right there so you can click on my face, or a link in the description so that you can go over and check out my How to Create a Comic Book series. I believe it's part 1 of writing a script and creating characters and all that other stuff. So check out that video and it'll basically show you the basics of making a script. Alright, our next question comes from Polly Sarah. I hope I'm saying that correctly. They also have kind of a multiple parter here, but it's all kind of similar. The first one is how to translate a story with multiple characters. How do you take your stories and turn into a comic? And how do you determine which plot line is the start point? And how do you utilize each character effectively with a large cast? Now, in the original comment, they had also given some examples like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and all. And I think what they're asking is basically how do you have multiple plot lines based around the characters and how do you effectively use multiple characters in one story? And really, it's just about making sure you understand where your main goal is at the end of the story and what plot lines you think are important for the characters. Because usually when you have multiple characters, you want to give them their own time to kind of shine and have their moments. So just make sure you pick out the main cast and pick out the characters you feel are important enough to have their own little mini stories and subplots within the main plot. And just carefully try to figure out where they're effective, you know, where they can be used and where it's appropriate to have their subplots in. Many stories do this, almost all stories do this, because they all have to introduce a character, but then they also have to introduce their backstory enough that you understand the character and you feel about the character. So it's just something where you really have to just kind of read stories that you really like, see how they take care of it, and then just kind of implement the idea yourself slowly, and really get in the groove of just learning how to throw in characters and also how to utilize them properly, where you're having multiple characters actually doing and interacting with the main, character who's driving the story or with the main plot itself. So it's just a lot of trial and error of figuring out how the characters should work within your story and how the characters will interact. Our next question comes from Stephen Davis. He asks how to write inside the word balloons. So I'm guessing he's asking about writing it by hand. Now, if you're hand lettering, for one, make sure your handwriting is really clear because you want to make sure that people can read this. Usually when you're writing by hand, all the letters should be capitalized. That's just kind of a rule because it's easier to read when they're all capitalized. Another thing is there's actually a tool, I cannot remember its name, I will try to find it online if I can. There's an actual tool for handwriting, and what it does is it basically it's a ruler type deal with lines that you can put in where you're drawing all the lines for the spacing depending on how big the font will be. And what it basically allows you to know exactly how big the font will be, how much space you have, and allows you to kind of measure all that and get it just precise so that you can write it in there and you know you have enough space. And that's something you should definitely take into consideration as you're doing your page layouts, is make sure you leave enough space for text and don't ink the balloon until you know you have enough space. So do the lettering kind of first. Pencil out where you want the balloon to roughly be and don't really put a lot of art there. Put all the words in, ink the balloon, and then you can kind of ink the rest of your picture. Nowadays everyone does it digitally. Well, if you do it digitally, it's a lot easier because you can make sure you have the space. Manga Studio has a feature to make word balloons for you. So it's just something you're gonna have to figure out. But I did a video on making word balloons. I will leave a link in the description as well as an annotation over my face that you can go and check out. So go check that out, and I hope that one helps you out. Okay, now we have another long one, but this is all kind of one thing. It's from Scrael, I don't know, S-K-R-A-E-L. I hope I'm saying it right. If I'm not, I apologize. She says, I'm new to your channel, and I am a fledgling comic artist. I haven't watched all of your videos yet. Why not? But if you haven't already, I need help with drawing comic characters consistently so they look the same from any angle. Alright, so you're asking for consistency. I actually have done, I believe, a video on consistent character. I will leave an annotation, like usual. But a quick little overview is basically with consistency is just about learning obviously you have to learn to draw more consistently, where you want to pick out features of them that you can draw consistently. Either the hair, the eyes, certain ways they, do they have any jewelry on? Do they have any face, makeup or scars or something? A certain shape to their face? Are they young? Are they old? There's so many little details that you can put into your characters that allow you to draw them consistently. And from drawing from any angle is, again, it's just about knowing the details and knowing the type of face they have or body they have. Like, if they have a certain, like a skinnier face, even from front view, and from side view, or the angled view of 3/4, it's going to be similar. It's going to be a very kind of scrawny face. So these are just little things that you kind of have to really learn to do and do over and over again to kind of get the basics of it. So go check out that video, and I hope this helps you in drawing more consistently. Our last question comes from the Tokesukage, who asked, well, basically asked, I don't know if this is exactly what you were looking for, but how about a video describing how to construct a story arc? So basically what they're asking is how to construct story arcs in your main plot where you have multiple plot lines. A lot of manga do this, where instead of having one plot, especially shonen, they have many arcs, which are self-contained story plots that have a beginning and an end, which then carry over into another arc, which sometimes can be completely different. It doesn't have anything to do with the first one. If you watch things like One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, Fairy Tail, Naruto and Bleach sometimes have their own little arcs. They all have these little, like, you can say, like, you have an arc. Like in Dragon Ball Z, you had the Saiyan arc, which was the first one from Dragon Ball Z, where Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta first showed up. Well, then you had your Namek arc, which is when they first went to Namek. Then you had your Frieza arc, when Frieza was kind of a big thing. And then you have your different arc lines that have beginnings and ends. Now, some of them are a little more definite, like Fairy Tail. A lot of their arcs are kind of finished, they begin and they finish, and then a new arc starts. One Piece is the same way. So handling stuff like that kind of comes back to one of the original questions with multiple characters and multiple plot lines. Where it's all about just understanding your main plot, and if you even have like a main end goal, it's just utilizing your characters properly. Make sure you're consistent with your characters, make sure you're consistent with the idea that you're trying to get across, and also just try to be consistent with where you're trying to go with each arc. Write down each arc in about a paragraph where, like, it's usually a few sentences long of what that arc's going to be about. Just the whole thing in a short paragraph. And then that allows you to have your basic idea, and then from there you break it down into all the many things that are going on in that arc. And make sure that the way it ends, if you're going to have more arcs afterwards, it ends in a way that can kind of set up the next one, or at least end in a way where the next one doesn't seem so abrupt. So that's just something you got to keep in mind in doing, is just make sure you keep things flowing nicely. So I hope that helped. So that was the last question. Thank you for submitting your questions. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun for me to do. There was a couple things, questions that I had gotten that I'm going to do videos for on their own, because I think they're material that I can do drawing videos for themselves. So I'm going to do that. Please keep leaving comments and questions that I can answer. Any ones that I can't answer in a video, I will do more of these Q&As. So just, keep asking questions. Keep asking any questions you need help on that I haven't answered already. And thank you for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Before you guys go, do you guys like anime? If so, do you guys like good action-packed fighting games? Well, I got a cool game for you guys to go play, and it's a game that I've personally been playing for a while now. The game's called Elsword. It's an awesome game. It's set in an anime-themed world. It's a side-scrolling, action-based game. It's tons of fun. You get to pick from up to, like, I believe 7 characters. They're all kind of fun to play with. My favorite one so far is the little bow staff girl. It's a really awesome game. It's really fun. I really would love you guys to go and check this game out, and go sign up in the link below in the description. Check it out, make an account, have some fun playing this game. And you can actually have 2 ways of enjoying it. You can either download it on itself on your computer, or if you enjoy Steam, it's now available on Steam, so you can check it out there and keep it all bundled together with all your other Steam games that you impulse bought, like me. Anyway, enjoy the game. Maybe I'll even see you guys on the game and we can have some fun together. But go check it out, have some fun, and just terrorize all the monsters. Rah!